Hello everyone, this here is the LEGO Tiny Plant Set. It has 758 pieces and it's part of the Botanical collection for obvious reasons. It comes with everything that you see here when you build it up. You build each of these individually. You don't do all the pots and then the plant, so you do each combination of pot and plant as a separate little sub-step. These three small pots are all the same. These three mid-sized ones are all the same. And these three large ones are all the same for their bases. But then the soil inside and obviously the plants themselves are very different. These are not done to scale, so they're actually scaled down each one, and they're kind of done to different scales as well. So it's not the most realistic thing in that way, but as usual for these types of sets, the botanicals, there are a lot of nice part usages. And unlike with the succulents, these are each done completely separately, so there's no connection between the different plants whatsoever. You just can place them however you want, wherever you want, and there's no intended way to force them into a particular official arrangement or anything like that. And if you want to keep them together a certain way, well, you just set them there, No Technic pins or anything like that, and no base connecting them. Looking at the individuals up close, this is one of the small ones. Now this to me looks like it was trying to be an African violet, that's just not flowering, but it's actually supposed to be Oxalis triangularis, the false shamrock. I'm familiar with the plant, I've seen it before, but it has very, very recognizable, it's in the name, triangularis, because of the triangle shaped leaflets. It's very recognizable, and this just doesn't really capture that because it needs to have 3 leaflets per leaf and they need to be triangle shaped, and that's just not really here, and that's fine. So okay, we take a little bit of an L with the the accuracy to the source material, but it's still an interesting looking thing. It still gives you a bunch of these purple colored unprinted butterflies, which are nice, and you get that tan colored flower stem piece in there with the 3 stems on it. So yeah, the parts are fine, and inside of there, most of the dirt is dark brown, a little bit of regular brown inside. In the middle of it, this one has the tan at the base, and this is like a sempervirens. In particular, this one is Britain's Live Forever, so it's supposed to be that. All right, basal rosette, and a little bit of different colors depending upon the age of the leaves. This really should be more round around the sides, and it should be more like an artichoke. These tiers are more stacked than that, but I kind of get it. It's going to be very difficult to do better than this, honestly, with Lego pieces. So I don't mind it. I think that it looks unique enough, even if, once again, it doesn't look accurate. It does look at least interesting. Now, this one is the most obvious of all of them. Arguably the most accurate, although also not. It's a Venus flytrap, right? So it's supposed to represent one of these, except with just one of the traps, and they do typically have their trap segments closer together, not open that much. So this is a little bit more cartoony, but I don't mind that. It's fun, using the cake topper pieces, the 2x2 cake topper pieces. To good effect here. You can kind of overlap these, get them to come together like that. And you can totally imagine this closing up, even though it doesn't actually do that here. And, having just a single one like that, maybe not the most realistic thing, but it does happen, especially with younger plants. And yeah, I think this is cool and definitely recognizable, even if it is cartoonish. Going up a step in size, this is supposed to represent a jade plant, and I think it does a very, very, very good job of that with the nice succulent leaves suggested by these hat pieces. And then towards the top for the smaller ones, they're just using tiles. This works 100% to me, and it looks organic. You can kind of offset these things so that it doesn't look too much like a repeating pattern, even though it totally is. And yeah, I just think this is 100% a success here, and I think it couldn't really be done better at all at this scale. The only thing that's funky about it is that the pot is rather large for the size of the plant. It looks rather thick on the rim, and well, yeah, there's no branching inside of there, but that's perfectly fine. No problems with that one for me. This is Eastern prickly pear. You can immediately see what it's supposed to represent, but once again, it's very, very caricaturized. Mostly because of the size. Like this is a tiny pot. Even if you imagine this being larger than its supposed to be here, and then it's supposed to be also flowering. You really have to stretch your imagination if you know plants. The nicest thing here is that they actually did include a unique new print for the major leaf. Are those leaves or I think those are stems. Those are stem sections. So just for folks who are not familiar with it, wait, where is it? Where's my official picture? This isn't the best picture. So you have these large, fleshy, they look like they would be leaves, but the leaves are actually just little things. I don't remember on this one in particular, but either the spines or the thing right down at the base of the spine, one of those is technically the leaf on this. But you see they have the flowers and they make the fruiting bodies. It would have been nice to have a suggestion of an actual prickly pear shown up here, but the colors aren't always as green for the fleshy segments there. So I think that this works out completely. Now here's one that I personally didn't recognize at first. So viewers had, when I looked at the initial unveiling of this set, viewers had to point out what this was supposed to represent to me, and it's supposed to be a red Sundue plant. So this is one picture of what a number of them can look like, or this could be a branched out plant, but imagine just one of these. So just one of these sections right here, and then with a single flower coming out. Unfortunately, this picture does not show that single flower, but it does look rather like this. So this one is also, I'd say, very accurate, uses the dark red colored brushes to good effect, and yeah, this is completely working. And I didn't really talk about the pot design here between these, but it's pretty much what you see is what you get. Each one has a slightly different build to the inside, but the most interesting one, as far as the pot is concerned, is definitely the largest, which is coming right up. And notice the epaulette pieces in pink there. You get 3 of those. This is just really, really done well for what it's intended to be, I think. So here we go, the largest of the pot sizes, and this is intended to be a pitcher plant, specifically a yellow pitcher plant. So you're expecting to see something like that. And oftentimes pitcher plants are rendered in toy form or model form as just one single one, and usually they come in clusters. So having 4 of these at different heights, I think is good. Kind of has a representation of the water there, although the water would never be that clear except immediately after a very large rainfall. And yeah, things are looking maybe a little bit too clean down towards the base, but I get it. And the use of the broom piece there, or mop piece, in the lime green is nice. These hats in the bright spring green color, that's nice. Getting this piece here, this modified round 1x1 plate with the bar on it in that color as well. The red colored B1 Battle Droid arms, all that is nice. And the design of the pot, this one is the best in my opinion. It's the most clever. It really, really works at the end. How you get to this point might be a little bit unexpected. I'm not going to spoil the build for folks who want to check it out, because I think that's one of the most valuable things about this entire series is the build experience itself. But you can see what you end up with without seeing how you get there. And how you get there is good. This was just enjoyable and very satisfying to put each of these together. And it's just a really nice and satisfying shape as well, with the simple curve bits here, the 2x2 by 2/3. And then this is a 1x4 kind of bread loaf piece, an analog sort of to a cheese slope in a way, but 4 wide and with that half dome top to it. All that is just nice. So moving along, I have another cactus. This is maybe the most realistic thing in the whole set. Now, the picture that they give to give you a representation of this ball cactus here, or barrel cactus, they call it pincushion cactus. Is that really this one? I don't know. There are a lot of cacti that have this general shape that I think look more like this than pincushion in particular, but that's all good. It's a cactus, you can see that, and it's flowering, and I think it's good. Now, are the spikes just right? Not necessarily, but this is a clever design also, with the corners being covered up that way. It uses the best of the pot designs, not just because it's large, but it's interesting in how it's done. You have not a lot of gaps in there. The build for this is actually not all that crazy, but it works out really, really well. The use of the 2x2 there in the corner is really good. You have just a little bit of the color you don't want to see just peeking behind there, but that's not too bad. Overall, this is the most satisfying to, I would say, to the part of my brain that wants these things to look right. And also, even its size is feasible at this. You don't have to imagine it being a different scale. And then finally, anthurium. I used to call this plastic plant because the flowers look very plasticky. Let's look at this more completely. It's the tallest by far of all of them. Uses some of the Donkey Kong leaf pieces, and you have 2 different builds of flower there, and it also has the little 2nd generation printed ladybird beetle or ladybug down there at the base. Very simple build for this, but also very obvious what it's supposed to be, and I think it's successful at getting that across. I think anybody who knows anthurium, even if you don't know the name, if you've ever seen the plant, you will recognize it from this, and I think that makes this a success, even if some specific details about it aren't right. Like the use of the large shell element there works. The use of the curved horns in here is nice for kind of filling in some of the shape there, just giving you a little bit of reshape. And then the stacks here of the cool yellow color for the smaller flower, I think those work really well. Also for the pistils there. So all in all, yeah, I think this is pretty good, even though it definitely has some inaccuracies with the main stem and how this is offset here, but it still does its main job. Finally, these are the leftover parts, and I may have missed 1 or 2 just plain stud pieces, or possibly one of the basic flower parts, because things were kind of flying around when I was building this. Live on Twitch, there's a lot going on, but this is the main stuff, and any of the most important things that are new or recolored or relatively rare, I think you can see here, and you can see that there's quite a selection of good things recolored and such. All right, let's talk about value. $50 this is, or 50 euros. It is 45 British pounds or 70 Canadian dollars. Do I feel like it's worth $50? Do I feel like what's in front of me is worth $50? No. But then what do I feel like it's worth? 30? No, 30 seems like too little. 40, I guess. Yeah, something like that. So it's not that overpriced, even to me, and I do tend to be relatively harsh compared to other folks. I just feel like I know the value of the plastic that's here, and I feel like there's not that much of a value add when you have parts that are already mass produced that are simply being arranged in different ways. Not enough to add, well, basically to add up to $50 for this, but it's within a reasonable range. I think if you like what you see, then you're not being ripped off by this. I think if you're a little bit on the fence, I would expect this whole thing to be discounted within the year. I don't think it's one of the more appealing of the botanical line so far. I think that the ratio of pot to plant is a little bit too high, although again, these are nice, but it would have been nicer to get larger actual plants with each of these things, except for this. And I guess these 2 here are pretty decent as well, but the rest of them are definitely feeling a little bit sparse. But other than that, there's a lot of good stuff here, and at the very least, a lot of cool parts, including some recolors. But those are my thoughts for now. Thanks for watching. You can always find or watch my live builds of sets over on Twitch, where I do stream, well, most days of the week, most weeks of the year. Thanks for watching, and talk to you again soon.